What's going on, guys and girls and everybody else? This video is about a book that I read. We're gonna be doing a reading of a book that I read about that I. Sorry, we're gonna be you're gonna be listening to a book that I wrote. Some of the things that I've talked about on this channel, I've talked about in this book. And some things that I've talked about in this book I haven't talked about in the channel. And some of the things that I've talked about on the channel I haven't actually talked about in the book. So I'm getting to that. But for now we're just going to read the whole book. Because it's a very interesting book and there's some things in there that you might like. So before we get started, if you like this video, please like it and share and subscribe. So that you can get the video benefits of me making another video, and you'll be able to see them, and other people will be able to get the benefits from this too. So,
1 minute, 7 seconds. Speak off.
Anyways, let's get started. Hold on a sec.
The powers that be. How to transform your life with simple, everyday truths. I dedicate this book to my best friend God, who taught me that true power doesn't come from some outside authority, doesn't come from manipulating objects with your mind, it comes from within. Thank you, God. Introduction. There was a time when I was like most people, always reacting to circumstances, and wondering what went wrong. Those days seemed distant to me, almost as if I were a different person, and in a way I was. Now everything is different, because I don't react to my circumstances, for the most part, and today, with just a few exercises, I can show you that you don't need to react to your circumstances anymore as well. Before we get to the heart of the matter, however, I must say the exercises in this book are going to sound very simple. In fact, they're going to sound so simple that the mind is going to ignore them, be skeptical of them, and possibly scoff at them, because the mind has been stuck in its illusion for so long, it thinks and assumes that that illusion is reality, but I am happy to tell you that it's not true. Once you realize this, you will never be the same, and rarely, if ever, will you get mad, annoyed, or have any negative emotion towards anyone, anything, and yourself, because you'll remember that they're not the cause of that emotion, you are. Then you would have reached mastery indeed. The power of joy. I'm sure most people remember the feeling of joy they had when they were younger. If not, do not worry, I am going to show you how to have this joy anytime. Joy is not like happiness at all. Happiness feels good, but joy feels great. Joy is an all-expansive, all-encompassing thing. That is, happiness may feel good and improve and fulfill some part of your life, but joy fulfills and improves all of your life instantly. Joy cannot be contained or labeled without losing some, or even most of its vibrancy, so instead, I will give you exercises that will help you find your joy. 1. Play. This one may sound silly and not something an adult would do, but I promise you that once you try it, you will drop your judgment, or care less about it. It's really simple to do, and, like with most of the exercises to come, you can do it anywhere. All you must do is pretend that what you are doing is playing. By pretending, I don't mean knowing or believing it's not real and accepting it anyway. No, instead I mean immersing yourself in the imagined reality. In this state, nothing else exists but this reality. Even the identity of you disappears. You don't have to be doing anything exciting when you do this. In fact, you can make boring things seem fun. I, as a matter of fact, am pretending that I'm playing and having fun writing this. While doing the dishes, you can pretend to play. While driving, working, eating, watching TV, and even reading this book, you can pretend to play. Also, you can add excitement to have more fun with this, coming soon in a future exercise. 2. Excitement. Excitement enlivens everything you do with joy. Adding excitement to anything that you do will increase the interest and energy that you have to any task, or even when you're waiting, or doing nothing. All you must do is remember a time in your life when you were really excited. Now that you have the feeling of excitement, focus on it and intensify it. That is, focus on it strongly and feel that feeling in your heart as much as you can. At some point, you won't even need to bring up a memory for this exercise to work. Remember that the exercises aren't the goal you want to reach, the feeling is, and the exercises are only a way to get there. 3. Remembrance of joy. This exercise is even simpler than the last one. All you must do is remember a time when you were really joyful. It doesn't matter if you barely remember, or remember nothing but the feeling. The feeling is what's important anyway. Remember that feeling and intensify it as much as you can. Note, when it comes to any mind exercise, don't get caught in the mind's remembrance of something, or anything else the mind is attached to, especially if the feelings of the past don't exactly match up with the feelings you're having right now. Most of the time when you have a positive, or even a negative emotion, it tries, at least in my case, to compare it to the past, which can ruin your concentration, or that you're not happy enough, so you may become disappointed. Also, the mind expects to feel the way it did before, which is inevitably cause for disappointment, so beware of that. My advice is if these thoughts, or any others come up, is to just ignore them and focus on the feeling again, mostly because if the feelings are strong enough, the thoughts will go away almost instantly. 4. Have fun. Imagine a time when you were having fun. You could be doing anything, swimming, playing, it doesn't matter what it is, as I've pointed out before. You can even imagine that you are having fun right now. When it comes to creating a state of being, imagination is really the easiest way to do it, at least at first. If you think about this for a little bit, you will see that I'm right. Let me give you a good example you are probably familiar with. Think of a movie, or an episode of a show you've watched, or even a book you've read. You know that the plot, the characters and so on aren't real. For example, when a character you like has died or has been given a difficult challenge, you feel sadness or fear, or whatever the situation calls for because you are wrapped in the imagined world, so it is as if you are there. This even happens in real life. For instance, someone says something, you misinterpret it and get emotional about it. In fact, you do this every day, even blind people do this. There has been a lot of misinformation about imagination itself, no doubt spread by well-meaning people, mostly sighted people who think imagination means images created in the mind, partly due to the word itself. I, myself have fallen prey to this partly truthful definition many times, mostly due to ignorance. So, what is imagination? I can hear you asking, and it is a good question. Imagination is the intentional or unintentional creation of mind reality. A mind reality is a reality that you create with your thoughts, beliefs, feelings, hopes, and more. That's it, nothing more. By the way, I'm not saying that imagination doesn't involve visual images sometimes. I'm saying that most of the time it doesn't, that's all. At any rate, you either can imagine you're having fun right now, or you can remember a time when you had fun, and focus on the feeling. I almost think that imagining having fun right now would be better, because you're not remembering the past, therefore your mind won't get as stuck expecting and comparing to that moment in the past. Also, don't forget to intensify those feelings if you want. 5. Be impulsive. There are times when you just have to be impulsive or spontaneous. Singing in the shower comes to mind for me, but for you it could be something different. The point is, a certain impulsiveness is how joy expresses itself. Joy longs, desires to be expressed to the world. Not because it must, but because joy is so excited, happy, and enthusiastic about life that enthusiasm shows up with everything it does, because if the expressing didn't happen, joy would wither and die. This is part of what I mean by all-expansive and all-encompassing. It cannot help but come out from the inside to the outside, that is, express itself through actions, words, behaviors, body language and air. All thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and more to this, but joy does it more than most, except for perhaps anger or rage. At any rate, being impulsive, in this case, doesn't mean acting recklessly, it means acting joyfully. Some suggestions for doing this include, walk into rain with a playful attitude towards it. Catch a raindrop and toss it towards the rain, as if playing a game. Step in a puddle playfully. Play with a cat or a dog with a joyful attitude. Sing. You can sing anywhere, but if you're embarrassed to sing in public, sing in the shower. Hum. Smile randomly for no reason at all. There are so many things you can do this with, and these 2 guidelines I will give you, do it playfully, and do it joyfully. Have a joyful experience, and don't ever let anyone affect your joy again. 6. Imagination. I know I slightly covered this before, but I think it's time to go more in depth with it. Just imagine what you'd be doing or saying right now if you were joyful. Add what's happening around currently if you want it to seem more realistic. The point to this exercise isn't to always imagine yourself as joyful in every moment, but to use imagination to gain the feeling, and then use 1 or 2 of the other exercises to keep that feeling going, or even to make it stronger. Also, don't forget to focus on the feeling when you have it, then intensify it. 7. Gratitude. If you use no other exercises, but this one and exercise 2, you would feel the most joy you'd feel in your entire life, including childhood. I, for instance, use these 2 techniques for hours today while listening to music. If you think that there is a limit to the amount of joy you can feel, I am here to tell you that happily, it's untrue. I myself believed this earlier to some extent, but found to my shock and joy, that I was wrong. Gladly, I think you can too, but enough about that, let's get to the exercise. The exercise is simple, all you must do is think of some things to be grateful for, and feel the feeling of gratitude as much as you can. If you can't think of some things to be grateful for, that's alright, I will give you some things to feel grateful for next. Some things to be grateful for: running water, electricity, a hot water heater, shoes on your feet, having access to the internet, being able to purchase anything, having a loving family, having clothes to wear, being able to read these words, your sight, your hearing, smells, tastes, being alive, having enough food to survive, having enough money to take good care of your needs, having modern conveniences. So many in this world don't have these things. I'm sure there's much more that you can think of in your own life. You can also take this to another level by making and writing in a gratitude journal. For those who do not know, a gratitude journal is a journal where you write about what you're grateful for every day. For those that already write in a gratitude journal, great. For those that don't, the process is simple. Write about 3 to 5 things you are grateful for. If you cannot come up with that many things to be grateful for, that's fine too. Also, I think that if you write why you're grateful for whatever it is you're grateful for, it will increase the amount of gratitude you feel tremendously. Unlike most who suggest this practice, however, I will add another suggestion. When done writing in your journal, look at what you've written and focus on the feeling of gratitude concerning what you are grateful for as much as you can. For example, say you wrote, "I am grateful for my health." At that point you intensify the feeling of gratitude as much as you can for at least 10 seconds, then write about something else you're grateful for. Also remember to focus on the feeling, and to add excitement if you want to. Eventually, or even at first, you can focus on the feeling of gratitude, in which case you don't need to say or think of what you're grateful for. You can feel it fully. 8. Give joy/happiness to others. Joy isn't just something you are, it's also something you share with others. There are many ways to do this. Smile at someone and mean it. Take them somewhere they love to go. Listen to them. I can't tell you how many times I've just let someone speak without interrupting them, and giving them your full attention. This frees them to get things off their chest. Once that happens, they're free to express, and their emotions can move freely through them. This is a liberation for the soul. Do this for yourself as well. Please note, do not take what they say personally. 9. It's in the heart. Many people, including myself, think that joy comes from inside the brain, but it doesn't. So where does it come from, you ask? The simple answer 10, the only self-realization there is. For many thousands of years, people have been writing, speaking, and even demonstrated their truths about enlightenment, God, and man's place in the universe. Of course, lots of times they did these things in a way I call ungodly, and most of us in this era would even consider their actions to be barbaric, but the point is, they thought their prophets/tribes/churches were God-inspired. Of course, the truth was that they were God-inspired. The problem wasn't that them and their teachings weren't just God-inspired, they were also ego-inspired. God wasn't the one to burn, kill, maim, and torture millions for himself. Man did, not because of some devil, because devil, after all, spelled backward, spells lived. Please understand that I am calling anyone evil here. I am going to call their actions evil, and their intentions misguided. So why am I talking about God, you're probably asking, and it is a good question. For the longest time, people have considered God to be way up there, as far away from mankind as they could get him/her. But, according to most things spoken or written about God, this view is inaccurate. According to these teachings, God is omnipotent, omniscient, and most importantly, omnipresent. This means, if we think about it, we are part and parcel of God. Many scriptures and teachings tell us this. If you do not like the word God, that's fine. You can use the word soul, Christ within, Buddha nature or spirit instead. Indeed, these terms will get you closer to the truth of things. You can access this state at any time, any place, and anywhere. The power of unconditional love. When it comes to emotions we feel, love is special because it connects us to others, and connects us to our soul. But the love I am speaking of isn't the type of needy, clingy love felt by most people. If there isn't a song about what I call new love, or love in its first stage, aka bubbly love song or played somewhere, it's about love that didn't go their way, or love lost. This isn't the type of love I'm talking about. The love I am talking of cannot be lost, cannot be broken, and would not coerce another to do your bidding, nor would it submit to another's will, unless the said love chose to, which would mean it still wouldn't be submitting. This love banishes all negativity you may or may not have towards virtually anything. This love has been called by many names, but we'll just call it unconditional love. I'll just say all to save time. All is called unconditional because no matter what you do, no matter what you say, all will always love you, although it may not like, or even agree with what you say or do. This love is unconditional because no matter what someone does and says, the love will still be there, because it looks past all character flaws to the real person within. This type of love is thought to exist between family, and it can, but true unconditional love doesn't discriminate, meaning, the person with UL sees all people with this love, in all cases. This does not mean some or most people haven't experienced UL at least some of the time. It does mean they have not felt UL some, or most of the time. So how do you experience UL intentionally, you may be asking, and that is exactly what this chapter is about. So without further ado, let's get into the meat of the chapter. 1. Imagine unconditional love. Imagine you are a holy person who sees someone and understands that this person is suffering, and feel the love for this suffering one as deep as you can. Most, if not all of the masters I have ever heard of did this. You do not have to imagine a specific master, teacher, or wise person to do this. Just imagine that this master is looking at this sufferer with love, kindness, compassion, and wisdom. Do not worry if you cannot come up with any details. The feeling is all that's important here. Once you feel this love, intensify it. We will be using the Imagine a Master Feeling Something techniques in other exercises in this book. Don't worry, any feeling, no matter how small, is a measure of your success. If you can't feel anything, that's okay too. There are many other exercises left in this chapter that can get you to this state quickly and easily. For those that did feel something, remember that feeling whenever things may get stressful for you, and when you intensify the feeling, you can make every negative emotion disappear almost instantly. 2. Understanding. When dealing with difficult relationships, this particular exercise will help you tremendously because understanding is the way towards empathy, and from empathy and understanding comes love, or at least compassion, and once compassion is reached, love is more than possible, if it isn't being felt already. So the exercise to get there is pretty simple. I think most people can agree that love stops or falters because the person or thing you love does or says something that annoys, upsets you, or makes you angry, etc. So the key here isn't to say or do something you may regret later, it's to understand where they're coming from. Now obviously you may not be able to guess exactly what they were thinking, or what their motivations were, but we can assume, quite correctly, that they were going through a difficult time, and that whatever was said or done wasn't done out of malice in most cases. Even if there was malicious intent, remember that malice rarely comes from a healthy mind, and that malicious action affects the instigator of this action, who rarely feels glad about what they said or did for long, and that eventually, they'll feel as bad as you do now. Also, they most likely feel or felt justified for doing or saying what they did because no one does or says anything inappropriate, given their model of the world. The exercise is really easy. All you must do is realize that the person who hurt you did it because all attack is a call for help. The person most likely feels as bad as you do or did at the time. Realize also that they may have had legitimate reasons in their mind for their actions, even if you disagree. These realizations should help get you closer to empathy, compassion, and love. By the way, I'm not saying that you let others walk all over you. Indeed, I'll say here that letting abuse happen to you is not wise, and leads to less love and more suffering. When dealing with any pain or situation, your goal shouldn't be to let the problem persist, or to react negatively. Your goal should be to get out of the situation, or suffering, or to change it as quickly and as painlessly as possible, and that helps both parties, including yourself. 3. A bird's eye view. When it comes to negativity, looking at things from a distance can give you perspective, and usually decreases, if not eliminates any negative emotion pretty quickly, if not immediately. This type of observation helps to gain understanding, wisdom, and love. The exercise is this: imagine that you are a wise person looking in on your life. You can even do this exercise on other people. For instance, you can imagine this wise person is looking at someone who hurt you. Then you can look at your life, then both lives at once the same way you did with your own life. This type of observation is another way to gain understanding, which creates empathy and compassion within you. You can even do this to get perspective any situation, and not just on ones that you feel cause strong emotion in you. In fact, I recommend you do this exercise every day, because the alternative perspectives you will gain will make you see that there is always at least two sides to a story, if not more. This technique shows you that reacting negatively to any situation does not work, and reacting with love, wisdom, and understanding heals any negativity almost instantly, and moreover, brings the people you are reacting to closer to love, wisdom, and understanding as well. It also teaches you that there are nothing but angels, because angels are messengers. So ask yourself, what is the message that is being sent to me today, and what is the message I am sending? Then look not from the ego, but from the holy observer's perspective. This is how heaven comes to earth, how you will find out what it was like in the Garden of Eden, before we ate of the forbidden fruit, because the forbidden fruit wasn't just the knowledge of good and evil, it was the illusion of separateness between you and God, between you and the rest of humanity, between you and nature, and between you and all things. 4. Forgiveness. When understanding, empathy, and compassion cannot be found, forgiveness will get you there. Of course, when I say get you there, I mean get you closer to love, and the funny thing is, once you forgive someone, you come to understanding. Not necessarily because you understand their motives, but you understand that they must have had their reasons for doing what they did, or that their hurt and anger had caused their reaction. 5. Celebrate your similarities. 6. Find common ground. 7. Be calm. 8. Judge not. The power of truth and wisdom, the power of peace, the power of gratitude, the power of imagine.
Anyways, that was the uncompleted version of the book so far. I'm going to try and start writing in it more often, because there's a lot more that I've learned since I've just started doing started making videos for this channel. So, anyways, like I said, if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And I probably won't put the link in the description. I'll put it in the comments, because I don't know, I have to find it. So, anyways, hope you like, and I know it wasn't complete, and it's a little bit rough drafty, but it's got some good messages in there, and I hope you get something good from it. So I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you later.